you don't study well, you won't get a good rank. If you don't get a good rank, you won't get into a good college. And if you don't get into a good college, how will you get a good job, settle in life, and be happy? How many of you grew up listening to this narrative? I did. And I took it quite seriously. I graduated as a gold medalist in civil engineering. I passed out from IIT Bombay as a 9-pointer. I even ended up in a good job in an MNC. But there was a problem. Neither was I happy, nor did I feel I was being useful to any of the tax-paying citizens who funded my education indirectly at a premier institute like IIT. So one fine day, I decided to part my ways with the comfort of my paycheck. And I set out on a journey in sustainability. Today, I'm going to take you on this journey, offering 3 valuable insights So, I'm going to offer 3 insights today. The first insight is about the opportunities this journey gave me. The second insight is about the amazing people that I've met in this journey. The third insight is about how this journey helped me rediscover myself. I know who I am. So, welcome to the road less traveled. The first opportunity that I got was in the space of food. This is a news report from 2010 depicting the pesticide residue levels in the food we eat every day. What's indicated in the red is the permissible limit, and what's indicated in the blue was the actual limit. So if you see the last data point, the permissible limit is 20 and the actual limit was 15,000. That means our vegetables had 750 times more residue than what is allowed. On the other hand, the person at the other end of the spectrum, the farmer, is not happy either. In the last decade, 1 lakh farmers committed suicide. Just to put that in perspective, by the time we end this 4-hour event, there are 8 less farmers on Indian soil. I found a huge disconnect. So I found my hypothesis. If the farmer personally knew the consumer, he would never poison his food. If the consumer knew the farmer who's growing his food, he would never buy tomatoes at 5 rupees a kilo. So I wanted to bridge this gap. And in 2010, I started Hyderabad's first organic farmers market. I started working with farmers. I started educating consumers about what good food is. And through my work with my farmers, I got fascinated by the intricacies involved. I felt it was more difficult to farm than to get into an IIT. Because there were so many variables that you had absolutely no control over, like rainfall, market prices, pest outbreak. So I wanted to give it a try. So I started very small on my terrace on a 4 feet by 4 feet garden. Very small on the terrace. I grew spinach, I grew basil, I grew tomatoes, some gourds, mint, the basic stuff. This is where the journey started. And over a period of time, it transformed into a full-fledged terrace garden with over 50 species. My interest just grew. And some amazing things started happening. This was a container in which I used to dump my kitchen waste because I didn't want to waste organic waste from the kitchen. So if you can see the waste at the bottom, the waste one day had some tomatoes. And the tomatoes got self-seeded. They grew into plants. They fruited. I actually harvested the tomatoes. And the birds pecked at them, certifying them to be organic. These planters were given to me as a part of my marriage ceremony. I wanted to use them, and I planted chili thinking it would be symbolic. My wife didn't like it. I started experimenting with more containers. I just slit Tetra Paks, started putting seeds in it. And I felt like a childlike excitement to dig the soil to see if the carrot formed. And boy, when the carrots did come out, the joy was indescribable. I added chicken to the containers. The chicken started eating all the weeds, covered the done crop with their amazing fertilizer. It was such a symbiotic, beautiful relation. I started to see life unfold in front of me. This is what I was waking up to. This prompted me to become a farmer. The second opportunity that I got is in the space of water. Every time it rained, every monsoon, my terrace got endowed with 60,000 liters of water. And all of it was going down the drain and creating problems. I didn't like it. So I wanted to change it. All I did was I took a hacksaw, slashed one of the rain pipes, and diverted it to a drum. It was a shoddy job, as you can see it, and I did it. So every time it rained, I used to harvest 600 liters of water and use it to water my plants. This moved on, and I started doing residential water harvesting projects where we were saving lakhs of liters of water. Then I moved on to farmland water harvesting. And on the farms, it's not just about water. We were saving amazing topsoil, as thick as chocolate. This is the fertile soil. And at the peak of this water journey, I got the opportunity to design and implement the rainwater harvesting system for a 230-acre Indian School of Business campus. Every time it rains, we save millions of liters of water. The third opportunity I got was in the space of clothing. When my daughter was born, our food was sorted because I was farming. But when it came to clothes, we didn't have an option. So I started looking who was doing sustainable clothing. I got exposed to the amazing work of the weavers, of the natural dyers. The picture there is, what we did was we got some organically grown cotton yarn and we got it dyed using natural plant materials like indigo, anar ka chilka, and then ratanjot. And then, if there was one person who stood by me like a rock throughout this journey, it was my wife. She said, I'll stitch the clothes. So we got the yarn weaved, and we started stitching organic clothes for the family. As a result, 90% of the times, we as a family now wear khadi that is hand-woven and is dyed naturally. So that's my kids. And we felt that every child deserves a chemical-free childhood. So my wife trained few underprivileged women around our house, and she now stitches clothes and makes them available to larger audience. So that's a recent article on her. That's my daughter wearing cotton that is grown in the hilly regions. It's a sustainable variety of cotton that grows for 3 years. It's called the hill cotton. The artwork is Jamdani, and that's my beautiful wife. So this was the third opportunity. Now, if you look at this insight called opportunities, every single opportunity started small at a personal level. Be it the terrace garden, or slitting the rainwater harvesting pipe, or the clothes for my daughter. And I'm proud to say that each of these today is a business vertical that is financially sustainable. So if you want to make a difference, start small and stick to the path. The second insight I'm going to offer is about the amazing souls that I met in this journey. The first such person is an entrepreneur who was ahead of her times. She graduated the year I was born and embraced sustainability 20 years before I did. So when I met her and I told her about my interest in farming, she helped me by sponsoring my first farm. This place today is a hub of biodiversity. We grow 18 varieties of mangoes on this farm. We just explored biodiversity. We grew a lot of heirloom tomatoes. We grew 5 varieties of okra, chilies, lots of corn that was colorful. We grew 7 varieties of beans. These are all varieties that are vanishing. It gave me an opportunity to explore them. And we grow lots of varieties of fruits, let them ripen naturally. Mulberries, papayas, there's lots of love. And this was fun. And we also grew some traditional crops like millets. This is foxtail millet. It has 2 times the protein, 3 times the calcium, 4 times the iron, and 18 times the fiber that there is in rice. And it takes 1/5 the water that rice takes. Isn't this the answer to feeding 1 billion people respectfully? Isn't this the answer to 73 million diabetes cases in India? I feel it is. We just have to embrace the old ways and the grains. We moved on to sustainable architecture. We made adobe bricks from the soil, from the farm. These are unfired bricks. We made a house with them. The house is amazingly cool in summers and refreshingly warm in winters thanks to the power of earth. It acts as a thermal mass. This is available all around us. We explored lots of different plastering techniques where we used lime, we used cow dung for antimicrobial properties. It was an amazing experience. And as we built this beautiful place, some amazing business models emerged. On one trip, a corporate sponsored a visit for underprivileged children to learn about sustainability. We got them to the farm. We cooked them organic meals, jawari roti and stuff. We treated them with mangoes in a bucket of ice. The children loved them, and it showed in their faces. This was so fulfilling. The next person is a financial guru who traveled the world. A lot of times, entrepreneurs fail because they don't have an understanding of finance, financial sustainability. So he taught me what finance was. He taught me a good pricing strategy, and we actually became financially sustainable as a business. His wife, who was a very innovative chef, helped us to add more value into the chain. She created products with raw produce, and we went on to become Hyderabad's first organic farm-to-table cafe, where we served food with freshly grown produce with local ingredients and seasonal ingredients. This was unique for Hyderabad. The third person I'm introducing is a Padma Shri. She's a doctor with love for heirloom produce. I had the opportunity to work with her to spread the knowledge in sustainable living. I have a very interesting story to share here. How much would any of you spend on a box of tomatoes? 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 100 rupees? One day, this box landed on my table. It's tomatoes being sold at 2,500 rupees a kilo. So we did reverse engineering. We saved the seed. We grew the tomatoes locally. We harvested them. And in the recent round of harvest, I taught my daughter how to save the seed. So the story will go on, and the seed is saved. There were so many stories like this with this amazing woman. And just to give you a snapshot, this is the biodiversity of heirloom seeds and vegetables that we grew. The fourth person is a designer jeweler who sold his business to build world's greenest school. He came to my farm. He invited me to Bali. I went there and I learned what being a purist is. This building that you see, it's entirely made of wood. No concrete at all. That's being a purist. He would walk every day the rice paddies of Bali, collecting trash every day in the morning. I realized that he's able to do this only because he's healthy. I'll come to that a little later. I learned how to construct things out of bamboo. And when I came back, I actually constructed something for my daughter. Okay, there's a glitch there. But this is a bamboo structure which will unfold, and eventually it became a nursery in my farm. So that was the insight about people. It's not a deserted road. The road less traveled will have garden angels who will actually help you all through. The third opportunity is about my self-discovery. That was me while I was in corporate. I was borderline obese. I realized the importance of health. So much so, 10 years after leaving college, I went back to college and I got a degree in nutrition. I achieved this without hitting the gym by just eating right foods at the right time. As a kid, I used to hate plantain. But when I grew it, I actually cooked it and ate it. So the lesson is, if a child grows bitter gourd, he won't find it bitter anymore. If we expose children to abundance from the beginning, the natural feeling that will come to them is of sharing. I would never judge a person by their appearance. The sweetest of the fruits that we ate were not necessarily the most beautiful. And I think this applies to people too. I was amazed by the respect birds would have for fruits. They would never peck at a second fruit before finishing the first one. This, my friends, is my last slide. You remember the marriage planter? It broke one day. And to my surprise, the roots were intact and they held the soil. It was such a profound lesson. In life, if you stick to your values, if you stick to your vision, the box will crumble, the externalities will crumble, but you will continue to thrive. Stick to your values. With this, I would want to leave you with a dream. I have a dream that the youth of this nation will choose to do things that they're passionate about, create sustainable solutions to the problems around us. And if we can together achieve this dream, we will leave behind a better world. I'd like to conclude with a quote from the son of the soil, which I think is more relevant today than any other day. Path is the goal, M.K. Gandhi.